Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Hey everybody, we're here, and I remembered to turn the music off. Welcome into the Mile High Hockey Lab podcast. We're about to start and talk about the Colorado Avalanche as we do every week. I'm here hosting. My name's Ezra Parter. I'm here with Jackie K, Brennan Vogt, and our recently departed managing editor Evan Liu, who's still on the podcast. Welcome in, everybody. Our normal host, Adrian Hernandez, is going to join us a little bit later. But let's get into it, folks. If you're listening already and if you've never subscribed, shared, liked this podcast, go ahead and give that a try. It's a good time. Everybody loves it when they do that. I think you will too. And know that we're on Spotify with our entire archive and everything like that. But yeah, you don't want to hear about process. You want to hear about Avalanche hockey. So let's get into it. Man, it's been a great week for the Avs, guys. I'm excited to get to talk about it. I think I'll start with you, Jackie, since you're on the upper right here. How did the reaction to Mikko Rantanen's return to Ball Arena feel for you?
Let's see. I was honestly disappointed in some of the boos. So, kind of made me cringe a little bit, but in general, it was a lot of applause, especially at the end of the video. Like I understand that he plays for a rival now, and to that extent, like rivalry is a big part of sport, and you hate the enemy and all this and that. Like if the boos are a place of that, I get it, because that's what sport's about. But if it's booing because he did something wrong or he did something to the Avs, I feel that's very misguided. We probably won't get into that today, but that's how I felt with the boos.
I think
just
we can get into it a little bit. I agree with what you're saying. It feels like people have decided how this all went down is Mikko's fault somehow, and we don't know, right? We're not in the room. We can't know exactly what went down, but from everything that it has been coming out, it seems like it was mostly a team decision not to invest in the amount of money that Mikko Rantanen wanted. So you got blame to lay on both sides. Booing a guy for that feels unfair. Brennan, what did you think? Oh, Brennan, your mic. We got Brennan dropping his mic and Evan's video cutting out at the same time. So I don't have any choice.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I think I'm not going to mute you. I'm enjoying the fumbling.
Well, it's been one of those last couple of days that my little guy's sick, and I'm recovering from a week of trying to push out something. So
I'm sorry.
I'm sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been fun.
Good.
Evan's seen how much work I've been trying to put out. So it's been a lot.
Well, were you able to watch the Mikko Rantanen return game?
Oh yeah. And like Jackie, I was a little disappointed, and you can't blame some fans for him going to a rival, but still, he won a cup. He was here for 10 years. He did extend once, guys, although he did hold out. But I think that was more the agent, and I think that was the same case this time, that the agent was holding out, and Chris McFarland was just like, you know what, F it, I'm not putting up with this.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have my view on how it went down.
Yeah. Tell us, Jackie.
Well, I mean, if both parties had crystal ball and were told he's going to extend for $12 million, I think they both would have done that. But
Mhm.
to expect somebody to understand that an offer is take it or leave it 6 weeks away from the trade deadline, and then to basically just expect, well, the Avs are the best team in the world, so if you get an offer from them, you should just be thankful for it and take whatever it is. Like, is that going to extend to Netchas? Is that going to extend to Drouin? Like, are big time players just not supposed to negotiate anymore? If you get an offer that's like, well, you can eat and feed your family on that, just take the offer, because, you know, if you negotiate, you're just selfish. Because so
Well,
that's
he
just
is
crazy to me that this was a bad thing, that we were in that they were in a negotiation, and
well, he is
that
getting like 3.25 more million out of going to Texas.
Yeah, the
Because
Texas thing is a factor.
yeah,
But I think, you know,
so
we can relitigate this situation forever, and I'm sure we'll have a number of podcasts on it. But I'm more interested in that Stars Avalanche game for right now. We've talked a bit about the actual reaction to Mikko, but I think, you know, another thing that some folks are pretty upset about from that game, even though it was a great overtime win, is that Dallas managed to stage a little comeback there in the third period. Evan, I'll go to you. Should we be upset that the Avs let Dallas back into the game?
I guess maybe a little bit. They're kind of like my internet right now, where they're just kind of letting you down at the most important moments. I was stuck to the radio, at least for this game, so I didn't hear much about like the Mikko Rantanen reactions and all that sort of stuff. But when you give up, what was it, 2 goals in 20 seconds, right, after having a 3-1
Yeah.
lead, not great, you know, like, especially against a team that you're trying to chase that's ahead of you now in the division. Granted, the Avs are now, I believe it's 2 points, from Dallas at this point. It could have been 1 if they didn't give them the extra point, but I think it's honestly kind of a deserving, result, because both teams are just that good. They're able to compete. They're able to flip on a switch, right, and get to it when they need to. So obviously you don't want that to happen, to be a continuing trend, sort of down the line here, especially as we're reaching the playoffs, when we've seen what happens between these two teams in a series, so they're great. Yeah, Kiviranta happens. Granted, that was a good game, like you said, Ezra. It was a very good game. It's a good 2 points that Colorado got, but you obviously wish that you wouldn't have given them the extra point. And that could lead down a whole other rabbit hole of whether or not you get the loser's point and, changing it like PWHL, where you get, 3 points, for regulation win. It's, go on about that too. But
for sure, in the reality we live in, where none of that's going to change, I feel like that loser point is for sure going to come into play in the last week of the season. There's just no way that the storybook ending of the season doesn't include that page, But I say from that game, I was so impressed with how dominant it seemed Colorado was able to be over Dallas. And then a couple of bad plays here and there. One, a ref assisted Ryan Lindgren turnover. One, all on his own Ryan Lindgren turnover, and then Sam Girard failing to get a clear out over a couple of sticks. I mean, just a couple of bad plays go the other way, and it ends up a tie game. But I felt like that was a dominant effort. Jackie, how'd you feel about the overall performance of the Avs in that game?
I think it was kind of similar to Calgary in a way, where the disparity in shots was huge, but I don't feel like just the Avs were in the offensive zone the whole time, just getting pressure constantly. So I feel like there was more back and forth than what you would maybe see on the scoreboard. And so I think that does point to the Avs are doing a good job preventing shots on goal. But I think to see a truly dominant performance, I think I would like to see them in control more. So I kind of take both pieces of that.
Yeah, there's a ton of puck possession happening for both teams in that game, right? Dallas was able to have the puck a lot, but as far as getting shots through, I mean, Colorado was doing a great job shutting that part of it down defensively, which I think, that's a positive, and also you'd rather them have the puck for sure. Brennan, what about you? How'd you see that game?
I honestly felt like it was a really good game. Dallas didn't play up to their potential, but I know they were missing at least one player.
Yeah, two key guys for them in Heiskanen and Tyler Seguin, and then Josh Manson for the Avs. And
Yeah,
Mackenzie
and
Blackwood.
Sagan's an avalanche killer, and then Duchesne, of course, had to get his at least 1 point.
Oh yeah,
I hate that. Um,
I'm surprised Raymond didn't score.
Well, he had a point though.
He had a nice assist. That was
the ref helped, but he really did make that play, and
he took it right off of Taze's. He took it right off of Taze's stick and then tossed it to the center. But the two former Avalanche on the team, of course, had to get points.
Yeah, well, hey, and the former Stars got some points too. I don't know about Kiviranta, but Nichushkin was definitely a big factor.
Yeah. But Nuke's
what's
been
going to
on
happen
fire.
when Kiviranta stops shooting 20%
We'll
and goes back to being a 10-point player?
Yeah, we'll just be back to normal. I think that's fine. Hopefully by then there's somebody else taking his spot on the third line, but let's not get into that today.
We will later.
Yeah. Well, last week we assessed that the Avalanche had roughly a 25% chance in our just random math estimation of catching Dallas for the second seed in the West. Has that changed for you all? Evan, we'll go to you first. How do you see the race with Dallas for second in the West now that the Avs have won this game and climbed to within 2 points of the Stars in standings?
I mean, it's definitely plausible for sure. I mean, you look at the last 10 games that the Avs have had, they're 8-1, pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, 8-1-1. You kind of cut out there, but I'll just fill in. You said 8-1-1, which very good.
The caveat here, though, Dallas still has 2 games in it. On 68 games, Dallas is on 66. So you have to hope that Dallas can drop some points and that the Avs can continue wins. I think that these two are done in the regular season. I don't think they meet again
that's right.
for the regular season. So things can happen then. But if the Avalanche keep working and the results elsewhere, it's definitely possible. But this might be like my hot take. I kind of want the Avs to fall to the wild card one, because then you play Vegas or team that I would like to face more than Dallas.
No,
because I mean Vegas is on.
I think at this point, I think it's a little dangerous to get into the like what path do you choose, because it's kind of like you. It's a little dangerous, and also they'd have to take a step back. They would have to be not playing well, losing a fair amount. So I just think that's probably not. It's a be careful what you wish for, and it's probably not the best path for them at this time.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I see where the path looks easier in the Pacific. It definitely does. There's no doubt that I'd rather get to play Vegas, LA Kings, Edmonton combo than any combo of Winnipeg and Dallas. But yeah, Minnesota would have to go on a tear to pass Colorado at this point. So it feels like that would be a negative. But as far as catching Dallas goes, 25 was a number you threw out there, Jackie. Do you still feel good about that number? Do you feel like anything's changed after this win?
I'm going to keep it at that. I know that I was more on the optimistic side when I said that. I'd have to look at like what the actual money puck or whatever it is. It probably is higher than that at this point. But I do think, the win helped. It obviously wasn't a full 2 points up on them. But I know we talked about strength of schedule last week, and I think it was reverse of what we said. The Avs actually have the 10th hardest schedule, and Dallas has the 20th hardest schedule. So I've looked at the schedules. Do I personally think the Avs schedule is hard? No, but they do have like LA on there, Vegas. So there's a few tougher games. This trip to Canada will be interesting, I think, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. But Dallas has I think 3 games against Nashville. Like they have some easy games on there. So at this time of year, it's tough because good teams are kind of like coasting. bad teams have young players that have something to prove. So it's not always just what you see on paper. But if we're just looking at that Dallas has games in hand, they have an easier schedule. They probably will still take it. So I'll stick with the 25%. But I do recognize that winning that game definitely helps the Avs.
Yeah, I guess
Well,
I did have that backwards. Sorry about that. But yeah, Brennan, what do you think?
There he goes. But what concerns me is that Toronto being the next opponent, and they're coming off a 6-2 win against Calgary. They're coming in with quite a bit of momentum, and they just ripped Wolf apart. So they've got a little bit of momentum. They play Ottawa next, and Ottawa is not an easy team to beat for some reason for them. And Montreal is just weird. They can be up or they can be down. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting road trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also feel like the Avs beating Toronto recently doesn't help either. As I always follow the principle, kind of like expect the opposite. So,
yeah, it's hard
that
to
could
beat
be
the same team twice in a row.
But obviously they've won so much lately. It's not like, oh my God, they lose a game, it's all over. But I just think this team has done a lot of peaks and valleys. And so I don't think they're just going to just straight up roll to the playoffs. I do think they might have another little valley before they get there.
Yeah, that makes sense. One thing that gives me hope, both for catching Dallas and for beating Dallas in the first round. Pete DeBoer this morning, Dallas's head coach, said that Heiskanen missing the first round is a realistic possibility.
Do we believe him? I almost say he's playing that first round now. I mean, I just like why would you even say that?
He was asked directly, so he responded.
But still, I mean, I don't believe it's just, oh well, Dallas is more forthcoming than the Avs. Like, why would you? Especially when you just lost to Colorado. Probably will just play them. Are you just going to be like, oh, yeah, definitely plan for our best defenseman and not be in the lineup? You do that, Jared. Like, I just don't. I just, no.
Well, regardless, it's out there. Speaking of out there, somebody who's now in here is Adrian Hernandez, our typical host who's managed to make it into the show today. I had to be a little delayed. Welcome, Adrian.
Yes, thank you for having me. I thought you were going to say, speaking of, somebody who's a little bit out there, Adrian, which would still be true. But yeah, I just to pick up on what you all were talking about and what Anno says right here. And says, I don't believe DeBoer. I don't either. I think it's tactic. We're getting closer to the playoffs. That's what we do. As we get closer to the playoffs, the coaches look at the microphone as an opportunity to sway tactics for the other side. And it's like Jackie says, it's kind of like, yeah, Jared, prepare to not prepare for Miro Heiskanen if you want to do us a solid. I don't think that's going to.
Yeah, I don't think he's falling for it either. But
no, not by any means. Not by any means. I noticed you guys too were talking about the Canadians and the Toronto and the Senators, kind of like the Canadian trip, which we can talk about in a little more later too. But that is also interesting to me because all of those teams are kind of like in a hunt right now for a playoff spot. So going back to Jackie's point about as maybe like when you look at the teams not having a super strong rest of the schedule, but you have to look at the context of the situation for each team. Like these teams still very much have something to play for. On the other hand, you do have teams like Toronto who maybe not so much, although they're the higher caliber squad. I think that bodes well for the Avalanche against the Leafs and not so much against like the Habs who are jostling for a playoff spot. And, Montreal is pretty stoked. Usually they're pretty mean out there in the media. And right now they are all about the Canadians. So there's a lot of firepower.
They're always about the Canadians, dude.
Sure, but sometimes they're about how bad the Canadians suck. Right now they're about how excited they are about the Canadians, which I guess is cool. It's cool. But
yeah, Montreal's making a real push.
Yeah.
And
poor
every game
Columbus.
the Avs have played against Ottawa in like the last 5 years has been strange. So
Yeah, exactly. Is that the team they play when it's usually like 7-4 or something crazy like that?
yeah.
I have my stat because
Yeah.
I was ready for this. They have played, I think, in the last, like, I want to say 5 or 6 games. It's been, I think they've combined for like 69 goals or something like that. Something
Nice.
crazy, like ridiculous. I know exactly. Nice. I'm trying
So
to
with
find the
Ottawa
actual tweet here. but
actually
here we
trying
go.
to
So
secure
the
a
Avs and
playoff.
Sens. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, with Ottawa actually, and that's usually when Ottawa wasn't relevant.
Yeah.
So with the, I am curious to see, do they play differently now that they're on the precipice of actually being a playoff team? But I'm sorry, go ahead with your statistic.
As I said, well, considering earlier this year it was 5-4, I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's been 69 goals in the last 7 games. Excuse me. So November 22nd, 2021, Avs 7, Sens 5. December 4th, 2021, Sens 6, Avs 5. That's the only game the Sens have won in this entire stretch, by the way,
That bodes
against
well.
Colorado.
Huh.
7-0 for the Avs on January 14th, 2023. 5-4 to the Avs March 16th, 2023. December 21st, 2023. Avs 6, Sens 4. January 16th, 2024. Avs 7, Sens 4.
So if you don't
those are
take
the
the
last 7
over,
games.
you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Take the over.
Yeah.
Take the over.
Oh, well, then I go back to the DeBoer thing, and it's like, is that the universe telling me the under's finally gonna hit? I don't know.
I know, like I said, Ottawa might actually play differently because this game matters to them. So like I said, I'm interested to see. Now we're going to get that 3-1 game or something just because they have to play different. So we'll see.
Is Brady back yet?
I think so. I don't think he was ever out long.
No.
I think he is.
Was
I
he
think he's
out at
back.
just a couple games from the Four Nations?
I
think
don't.
so.
Yeah, maybe he missed a game or two. I don't think it was much.
Yeah, because I know both the Kachuk brothers missed a little bit. So
Yeah.
A part of the script that I sent you guys that I do want to talk about next is Brock Nelson. I'm not like pulling the fire alarm yet or anything like that. I do think he's a great fit. I've seen a lot of good things, but I'm curious as to how all of you feel. Is there cause for concern with Brock Nelson not necessarily getting on the score sheet just yet? When do you start to be concerned? Is this just a matter of familiarity? Some of that turnover Jackie's been talking about for a couple of months showing its ugly head. Ezra, you've hosted the show so far, so I'm going to let you answer the first. How about that?
Yeah, I'm ready to jump in on this. I feel like a lot of what Brock Nelson has brought so far has been off the score sheet, and it's been really pretty good, especially in the offensive zone. His defensive zone reads have left some question marks, but a lot of that is learning the system. And if you're comparing him and Charlie Coyle picking up the system at different speeds, yeah, Charlie's been much better. But there is room for Nelson to grow here, I think, on that end. And then, I mean, if you look at just this Dallas game, he created 2 of the 4 goals. The Nichushkin goal is an incredible Brock Nelson screen. I mean, he's just in a perfect spot. He started that play, got it to Nichushkin, got to the net, created that goal. He didn't get an assist for it, but he was huge. And then the Makar overtime goal is off of a Brock Nelson faceoff win where he went immediately to the bench and they're like, actually, no, stay out there.
You stay out there.
Too. Yeah. And him being not really a decoy, but him being a threat for a pass drew the defense just a little bit, made a play. I mean, that's kind of like anybody could have done that, but he did win that draw, and that's important too. So his score line, his stat line hasn't been as significant as we would maybe want, but I think the contributions are there. I'm glad they took him off the first power play because Drouin's position on that power play is just different than what Nelson would need to do to be successful. And it is what that unit needs. Somebody who can facilitate from the right point. I think that's Drouin's job, and that is necessary. Nelson's not that guy. Nelson would be more of a net front kind of guy, and they have that with Nichushkin. So I don't mind him not scoring as much as if he's being used correctly.
I think in a world where Nichushkin is not healthy, knock on wood, Nelson has to be in the power play, but if Nichushkin is healthy, he doesn't. Because like usually you'd say, oh, second line center, he's probably in your power play. Well, your winger on the second line might be the best player on the second line in Val Nichushkin. Yeah. So and we all know how successful he can be on the power play. But Jackie, I cannot help but notice that some of what Ezra's saying is similar to what we said about Casey Middlestat when he got here in terms of that playing on the power play, that whole being the second line center and the role. Now, I'm not trying to draw that much of a parallel to the two of them, other than the fact that when you address this role, you have to actually address it. Are you concerned at all with the fit like we were with Casey Middlestat with Brock Nelson, or are you with Ezra and saying a lot of what he does doesn't necessarily show up on the score sheet?
Oh, I have many concerns. Well, one thing that he shares with Casey Middlestat is a terrible expected goals percentage currently at 39%. So is that him? Is that just a function of that second line just not being able to provide offense? So there's a lot to unpack here. Like, I get he spent his whole career in one place in the East. You bring him over, of course he's going to need time to get adjusted. I totally get the human nature part of it. But this is also a reason why 1,500 that I hate rentals, because you're asking people to go above and beyond kind of human expectation to be able, you have to step in, you have to produce, you have to be comfortable, you have to get it, because they gave up their future for it. So there is no like, well, we get it. This is difficult. It's just, there's no time for it. Now, obviously, do we need it in game 70? No, but it has to happen by game 1 of the playoffs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So,
agreed.
I just don't like, I'm not going to say he's Middlestat yet, because the problem that I had with him is just the fact that he didn't fit the system. He's not a forechecker. He's not physical, etc. I'm not ready to say that's not Brock Nelson. Okay.
Agreed.
Like we're not there yet. I'm not saying like he's going to do nothing just like Casey Middlestat, but Middlestat I recognize he did have some production. Mm-hmm. So in a way he has to at least match that of Middlestat, the production part of it. And then he has to be better in the other areas, which we'll see. But I was there at the game. Thank you very much, Adrian. So I got to see Nelson with my own eyes. And he looked old and slow to me. He looked not that skilled. I mean, he had trouble with puck play. And I can kind of see where his on-ice offense creation is not amazing. So, but like we said, this was the problem with the Middlestat line. Is it just him? I'm not going to say that. But what are you trying to get here with him? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like you rented Kucherov. Like, you got a guy that probably, I think, on the true cup contenders would be on the third line. So you're trying to ask him to be the second line guy. And like Ezra said, he's going to do different things that maybe you appreciate in different ways. A screen, a face-off win, this or that. This is not what they're trying to get here.
Yeah.
They're trying to get a drive the bus, fully productive second line center to fix all their problems.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I'm keying on here, because it could be that Nelson's a better fit than Middlestat, but still not the right one.
And that's the other thing. Can they retain him? Like, I read that the Islanders offered him $7.5 million. So
I don't want them to retain him. I know it's a loss on the trade.
Okay, so then that's even another problem. We think
he acknowledges like the trade you lose if you don't lose time. Yeah.
But then is this the guy that's putting you over? Like,
we'll find out. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. That's why I wanted to talk about this, because I do think that a lot of people consider what has happened in terms of the roster reconstruction as a win already. And I'm not saying it's not. I do think we talked about it right off the rip in our trade deadline special. To me, the Avs are a better team than they were a couple months ago. I don't think it's something you can argue. I do, however, wonder though, if, the age-old question in Colorado has always been about that 2C role. And even when Kadri was here, we asked questions about him until the year he did what the Avalanche expected from that role. Evan, you've been kind of quiet over there, but you look great. So I'm going to ask you, with this whole Brock Nelson situation, how long is your leash? What's your expectation? And is it kind of like Jackie says, as long as he figures it out by the playoffs, everything's fine?
That's a good question, because I feel like my leash it's longer than the one that Casey Middlestat had.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then,
But
like,
can
you
it
don't
be
really
longer?
know, because Casey Middlestat's younger. I know,
Yeah.
exactly, right? Like, Casey Middlestat was younger and had what seemed to be at least higher upside, right? And then you think about Brock Nelson; he's obviously been through the ringer. Was part of Four Nations, looked like the oldest man in the world at that point with his picture, like, and you give up like a top prospect for him, right? I think we can beat that dead horse over and over again. And then about
We can just say all
re-signing
their
him and
assets.
whatnot.
I mean, whether you
Yeah.
believe it or not, it was all their assets. So
So, like, I don't know. I would hope that the leash is longer for him in that sense, but then you also have to worry about re-signing him. And if you couldn't even re-sign in New York for $7.5 million, I'd be concerned about that here too.
Yeah.
I think that would then sort of signal then either one, you're really hoping that the cap's going to go up a whole bunch in the next 3 years. Two, I think that signals the departure of a lot of guys. I'm thinking like Jonathan Drouin. He probably wouldn't come back if they re-sign Nelson. Because then you have to figure out, if Landeskog's cap is going to work out then after that. And of course, even if he comes back at all,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So just mess, I guess, is the easiest way I can put it. It's just a mess, and how it'll work.
So then,
really
you're just not going to have a 2. Then are we accepting we're just not having a 2C forever if we don't keep him?
Well, Brandon, you are a big Brock Nelson guy. I am too. We talk about the good things. Ezra let us off. The good things about him are things that, in particular, Jared Bednar likes, which are the physicality, the forechecking, tenacity, and to Ezra's point, though, like a lot of the defensive reads and stuff, those haven't come through the same way as we were hoping. So if that's all true, and he is a better fit, Brennan, in terms of fitting Bednar's system, does that make the leash longer because of those non-antiquated factors being considered by a coach? Or does that mean his production has to follow that as well in order for Bednar to really trust him?
Well, you got to keep in mind, Bedsy looks at a lot of things that aren't stat sheets. Like, the typical fan looks at goals and assists and plus minus, and plus minus is BS. But, the typical fan looks at that crap. But Bedsy looks and Sakic and McFarland all look at the analytics and what happens away from the puck and what he is doing away from the puck. Hence the reason we got Lehkonen. But, and I think Brock Nelson is as much of a distraction, so much of a distraction that he's doing things away from the puck and drawing the defense away from the puck, that it's creating offensive chances. Right. So, excuse me.
But then why are the analytics terrible?
Well, but I think it's creating more chances in my opinion. But it's just also, like he is closer to my age, so that could be part of it.
Well, on the analytics, real quick, just looking at the Dallas game, yes, the expected goals for percentage is bad. It's 26. That's brutal. But his core side percentage actually led forwards. So he's a possession machine that maybe just isn't turning it into offense yet because there's a familiarity issue. There's, and any number of excuses you want to give him. I think we have to wait and see how that turns around, because right now the possession for that line has been pretty good and the production for that line has been pretty good, just not him individually or that underlying stat.
Yeah. And I think he's producing. He's starting to produce. He's also played over 900 games for the Islanders. You got to give the guy a minute to adjust to the system.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean,
everybody who's like, "Hey, go ahead."
But like I said, this is yes, from a human standpoint, I totally get it. I know the man has 4 kids. He's probably not even living with them anymore. Like all these reasons, totally get it. Not his fault. But this is why you don't get rentals.
Yeah.
Because you're
Well-
expecting more out of a human than maybe you should.
Well, and Peterman says Lehkonen, Manson,
Yeah.
Blake, Murray were all cup-winning rentals, but they weren't rentals, as you
Yeah,
put in your next
Lehkonen wasn't a
sentence.
rental.
Even Rob
Well,
Blake
yeah,
wasn't
they
a
were-
rental. So
Right, but re-signing a guy
To Ru-
doesn't change the fact that they were traded for as rentals.
Well,
True.
Lehkonen
You
was
know,
an RFA, so he was never going to be a
Lekkonen's
rental.
different. Yeah, I fully agree. And I did think they were going to target an RFA this season for that very reason, but they didn't. And now they
Yeah.
have Brock Nelson, who, if he turns it around, fits in great, and wants to sign for cheap for a year or two, great. But if he's looking for a contract that pays him after 35, I'm like, okay, no, let's not
let
do
the
that.
record show this is a great conversation to be having because it means the Avs are playing well. We're talking about Brock Nelson maybe scoring goals, and if that'll help inside of a 17 out of 18 points or something crazy like 16
Yeah.
out of 17 points right
Plus,
now.
this
or-
is
But that's
sunniest
what they
state in the
state
union, so
basically-
Go ahead. I
But
was
that's
going to
what
have
they
a smart
hinge
aleck
their
remark.
entire future on is what Brock
That's true.
Nelson's going to do this year. So
Mhm.
it's like you don't have time.
Right.
There is no
It's
leash.
a-
It's like you have to bring this team to a cup, and it
Now.
is like crazy to say that one player has to make that big of an impact. But by making this move, you are saying this one player is going to have that
Yep.
impact.
Which we said at the deadline. We said it. Ezra, I think you got to go, buddy.
That's
let's
right.
get
I
your-
do.
Let's get your bold prediction before you sign off. What you got for us?
Okay. I'm going to say that, first of all, the Avs sweep this road trip. It's
Yeah,
all
baby.
wins. And second, Brock Nelson has at least 1 point every game. Let's
Let's
go, Brock. Make me proud. I got to go do comedy now. Bye, everybody. Go
Good.
Avs.
We're
Break a
glad we
leg,
gave you a
brother.
head start.
Get lots of laughs.
Oh, I didn't leave yet.
But and we are the sunniest state in the union, so I think that he's been called a vampire by a lot of fans. He's not going to want to stay.
There you go. Keeping on theme with nicknames.
Right.
If his last name was Wood something, then maybe he would stick around.
Ugh.
I just don't keep rentals. To me, they don't get nicknamed. To me, they're not part of the team. They're just visiting. So I really don't even internalize rentals at all.
Unless
really
you're Ray
don't.
Bork. Unless you're Ray Bork, in which case we're cool.
Well, okay, but we didn't get Mitch Marner or Sidney Crosby or Nikita Kucherov, so
Yeah.
that doesn't make the exception to this rule. So
So
as
we
far as
kinda-
I'm concerned, rentals are visitors.
That's fair. Well, we kind of got off on a tangent there, but I'm glad because I think honestly, right now, that's the conversation to have with the Avs is how's the Brock Nelson thing going?
And I know nobody's worried because they're winning, but the second this
But
team drops like 2 in a
exactly.
row,
It'll be the
that-
first thing out of everyone's mouth.
exactly, that's
Yep.
going to be the conversation.
Well, let's look at the games that are coming up this week. We've started to a little bit already. We're talking about the Canadian road trip. The Avs will also probably have a game next Tuesday before our next episode against the Detroit Red Wings, another team who is in the hunt for a wild card position. The Avs still have their point streak intact. Evan, are you concerned? Which team kind of concerns you the most in terms of that point streak coming to an end among the Leafs, Sens, Canadians, and Red Wings?
Oh, tomorrow's game against Toronto, because I mean
Yeah.
they're still a great team. You know, they may have fallen to third now, you know, in the Atlantic, but they're still hot. They're still
Yeah.
good. I mean, look what they did last night to the Calgary Flames.
Mhm.
I actually tuned in to at least a little bit of that game last night, and man, I mean, not only was Dustin Wolf like just saving Calgary's ass so much, he just got no help in front of him, and I mean, Austin Matthews, and you know, all that stuff. So it's Toronto's a good game, another good team. I think we went over this, you know, a couple weeks ago when they went to Denver, and we saw how that game turned out too, right? Where right down to the wire, and I think it took overtime to win that game too, right? Didn't it for the Avs? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a similar game, at least anyway, tomorrow night against the Leafs.
I hope the Avs just, blow the brakes off Toronto, but that's just me. I hope that every time they play, basically, that they just beat the brakes off whoever they're playing. But Jackie, what are you looking for from the Avalanche this week? I know, like, this has been a weird season for you in particular. Is there something that could happen in the next couple of weeks that could move your needle in terms of like being in on the character and the story of this team?
Are they gonna get Byron back somehow? Like, I think the ship sailed.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have very little emotional attachment to this team, and it's not just me trying to be dramatic. That's the truth.
Well, what
Like
do you think about
it's one thing to
Brent?
say like, oh, I'm so mad, but you turn on the TV and you get that, oh, like, you're in it. I don't feel that.
Does
So
does the Landeskog potential for return do anything for you in that regard?
not really.
No. Okay.
um just because we have to see what that really and truly looks like.
Yeah.
Like him just playing a couple of games, I don't know. I mean, yes, I can say that obviously Landeskog is part of the emotional aspect of this team, but that's hard to say. It's not just that. It's not one thing. It's just in the aggregate. Like, who are
Totally.
these guys? There's just so many that I just don't automatically love because they showed up one
Yeah.
day in
No,
the
I
last couple of months.
that's why I asked the question, because I'm gonna be honest with you. From my perspective, I'm all the way back in, baby. I'm there because it's EJ coming back and Landeskog making a comeback. My version of Yerbo and Byram is like JT Comfer. And it's all the similar reason with the character stuff. I feel like the Avalanche have reinstalled the glue pieces of character. Like McKinnon is a character pillar, Makar, character pillar. These guys aren't guys that necessarily speak up and have their character come to the surface in terms of that, but their actions speak louder than words. On the flip side of that coin is a guy like Eric Johnson, who's going to do what he says and he's going to say what he does. And the same is true for Gabe Landeskog. So that part of this dynamic, that part of this team has me buying in on an emotional level. Brandon, you were flashing the 92 puck. Are you right there with me? Yeah, baby. Look at that Landeskog.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's not my only Landy puck either.
Yeah.
I've got the other one here.
Yeah.
The
Beautiful.
EJ thing is
The
also
one he never wore.
Yeah, there you go.
I hope the EJ thing just doesn't, like, they're using him a lot. I'm just like, oh boy,
Don't. Well, I know, like that. That's how I feel right now about our poor Seth Jones gets traded for and immediately gets exposed. My guy, poor guy.
Well, EJ hasn't played. You kept saying it a lot, Jackie, that EJ hasn't played very much this season.
Hey, I mean,
so maybe they're trying to take advantage of that.
It could be rest. It could just be he's just so refreshed. Sure. I'm just am a little concerned.
Yeah.
like it's true, he is refreshed, but we'll see
Plus,
about
he's
that.
running
But
off of pure adrenaline from coming back to Colorado. But
then that's the concern. If it's adrenaline, yee.
Well, I mean, the playoffs themselves will bring a lot of adrenaline, of course. But
oh god, yes. And then if Landy comes back,
well, that's what I was going to tell you.
I know I've been more on the pessimistic side of the Landy thing for a long time, and I've always said that I do feel like it would be so hard to walk away without it ever being on the ice, seeing what it really means to be a hockey player at this stage. But man, that's hard. It's hard for me to buy into because I've always said, I don't think him touching the ice is the finish line. And I do think it's dangerous. Well, it's very dangerous that they are making this such an enormous storyline that if things don't go perfectly, it's going to create a circus. It's going to create people saying, oh, what's he doing on the ice? What does he look like? Oh, this, oh, that. You know how, like, it has to be public because he has to be with the team. And I don't know. I think it is dangerous to kind of hinge on that kind of stuff to bring back the cohesiveness of a team because it's very combustible, let's just say.
I agree, and it sets up Landeskog in particular to be the butt of the bad joke if it doesn't go well because of the fans' immediate reaction. I mean, we see in our main chat for the Slack when the second I put, hey, look at this video of Landeskog, everyone starts in on the, oh, well, it's been 3 years,
It's like
I'm the
Carter.
only one who gets excited.
Yeah, exactly. So, I get it. I get that concern. I really do. But I'm just same as I said in the main. I just don't think I don't think Landeskog would be the one pioneering this like return campaign if it weren't truly on the table. If the Avalanche were the only ones doing it, I might still be a little worried. But
but
it's
like
Gabe.
I said, no,
Yeah.
you can tell from the documentary how determined he is, and I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, I truly can believe that's what he needs for him to understand where he is as a hockey player and if that's feasible. I think that's totally understandable. So no, I don't think that it's the Avs just saying like just skate out there and look like you're doing something. No, I think he's determined like it's now or never.
Right.
And maybe he is going to get that clarity where I think that's just what people just that aren't emotionally attached just don't want to hear about it anymore. And so
Well,
but I think for the team they need to know. They can't go through another summer of well, maybe. They need to know. And so
They
I
need
think
to.
he is working his way up to having some sort of clarity.
It needs to feel like next season when camp is rolling up that we're gonna see Landeskog there.
Yeah, he's got to be like a participant with the
Correct.
team. If it's more like, well, we need more time to rehab, it's just
Well, and so I'll show my wife videos of him skating every once in a while, and I showed her that one and she knows her hockey. It's not like she's just hey, they look like they're skating and slapping sticks type of person. So I showed her the video of Jesse that Jesse Montano posted yesterday or the day before, whenever it was. And she actually was like, "Oh, wow, he looks somewhat decent." And I would have to admit, those crossovers that he had, the transitions that he had, those were probably some of the best ones I've seen in years.
And Brandon, as much as I do that those are the parts, the shifting in your weight from one edge to the next, those are the parts that are tough on a knee. And those transitions from backward to forward, vice versa, that stuff's hard on you, period. Even if you're not injured, it's a physically taxing thing. So to see him snapping in and out of those and no grimace, no slow pace, it all looks normal. Now, I know he's not physically making contact with anybody yet. That's its own thing. But he hadn't practiced yet either up until this week. So we're making steps in the right direction, I'd say.
It's kind of the same stuff they do at morning skate, though. So I don't. And when Brendan
but
and
he's never been at a real practice. You know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying. Like, the style of the practice is a little more laissez-faire. But I do think that he knows if he goes to a practice, it signals something to his teammates.
Yeah, I do think he honestly is like, this is his chance. I do think he knows he's got to ramp it up. This is his chance to get on the ice and see what it's like. But like when we saw him live, I think that one day that he was at training camp, when he joined the all fin skate, like I even felt like his speed is not bad for somebody that hadn't played in a long time. Like he can get up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the transition in the skating, okay, maybe it wasn't quite that. But I've always thought he looked okay, but I also think the other thing is something he mentions in the documentary is that like he feels very good at points. I think it's about feeling good consistently, not having the knee blow up that night.
Well, yeah,
which is why I think he can get himself to a point where he can play a game. He probably can feel good enough and get through a game, but it's really going to be, can he keep playing?
Yeah, and I can talk from experience from my back as an example after 2 surgeries, that I can get through a game, but am I going to be able to get through one 3 days later?
No, probably not. Right. Yeah.
No, not.
Which is
not
why
right now.
I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping the Avs, this is really weird. Don't clip this. But
I will.
I'm hoping the Avs don't take second in the Central, because I hope that game 1 for Landeskog is game 3, and I hope that the Avs are up 3-0 after in the series, so he doesn't even have to play game 4 if he doesn't want to, and then they go out on the road and he doesn't even travel because he don't have to, And then if they need him back for a game 7 or otherwise, then we can cross that bridge. But like, I'm with you. If you can keep him off the ice as long as possible in that setting, great. And then also if you can shelter what he does do when he does come back. I mean, look at Stamkos. The story and the comparable is the Stamkos thing in the bubble. Came back for 2 shifts, scored a goal, and everyone loved him. So if that's something that the Avs can pull off, I mean, half the time they don't play their freaking 12th forward, but 7 minutes a night anyway. So there has to be a way.
Just that, would everyone be happy? I guess there is just seeing him on the ice, no matter what, would be cool. Like, I get that.
Yeah, game 3,
but if
the
that's
building
what
would
it
be.
was, that he was just on the ice for just like 4 shifts, like, how would you feel about that?
Well, I mean,
Depends on when
sometimes that's
they
all
were.
it takes.
If it was in the Stanley Cup final,
Okay, if he's in the cup final and scores a goal, you'll take it. But I
I'll
mean,
take it, yeah.
we're talking about game
Yeah.
3. What if he
Yeah.
goes out there and it's like 3 shifts?
Well, yeah,
if
it's
they-
like it's like when Steven Stamkos scored against Dallas.
Yeah,
That
then you take it.
he literally went in. I think it was 2 shifts.
Yeah.
Went in for that second one.
And scored.
He did he turned the corner, felt the pop. He even said he knew when he got injured.
Yeah.
Turning the corner and finished the play, scored the goal, and then sat on the bench for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Well,
but let's just say that the score doesn't happen. Not the miracle, not the ultimate sacrifice. Let's just say, yeah.
My answer to that, Jackie, is you'd have no choice but to wonder if Kiwi Ronta could have been there and done something otherwise, especially if they lose, right?
Sure, something like that. Whoever they scratch, would that have
whoever
been more
gets the
impactful?
boot? Yeah, could you make the argument? Oh, well, he's 100%, yada yada yada. So, I do think there's potential for that. I think there's potential for this to go great. Could be one of the best stories in NHL history, honestly, if Gabe comes back and is an
I do
effective
think
contributor.
people would do anything to see him once.
Yeah.
I do think, if people are listening to this right now that say, I just want to see him. Like, it means that much to me to see him. And I would, I'd say, like, that makes sense. But like you're saying, what if, if they lose that game? Do you open up the questions? What does the return, like, it's not just all just going to be he's back and everything's great. There's going to be a range.
Nope,
and so
never is. Yeah.
that is why I think there's a lot of caution going into it, but just to be excited about he could be back on the ice and you could see your favorite player in an Avs sweater, like that is totally cool.
That's where I'm at. Like, I already get goosebumps thinking about him and how the arena will respond emotionally when he's out there for the starting lineup announcement, and we get to see him take on the ice for the face-off to drop the puck. Like, that building, that's going to be a moment that not a lot of people get to experience, which is pure redemption. And I think that bodes well for the psyche of a team. It's like, let's really go get one for Nate, because we didn't realize that, or for Gabe, because we didn't realize that last time we kind of were getting one for Gabe. And if we can go get another one, maybe he'll retire. But
then I'd say I'd feel a lot better about that if that was even anywhere near close to the team that won it for Gabe.
True. Well, let's get into bold predictions because we're running out of time and I don't want to make you guys stay here longer. What's up, Brendan?
But just imagine hearing one more time from Stockholm, Sweden, number 92.
Yeah.
And then, like, they don't make any announcement. He's not out there for the morning skate or anything like that. And all of a sudden, they just make that announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how loud that ball arena will
By
get?
God, that's Gabe Landeskog music.
Yeah. That crowd will go nuts. And that opening shift for that game, whatever game it may be, the roof will be blowing off.
Yep, absolutely.
If they make an announcement, I might buy a plane ticket and just say screw it and come back.
I was gonna say I might buy you a plane ticket.
They sneak him out of warm up.
Yeah, no, they just throw him out there in like a, I don't know, get him.
Honestly, I don't think they'd even let him warm up. I think they'd just be like, okay, he's coming out for the announcement, and then that's it.
Well, something I want to start doing on the show before we do bold predictions is I want to show you guys the cool things that I've opened in terms of hockey cards lately,
Uh-oh.
so that you can look at them and tell me how cool they are. Jackie, this one in particular called my name and said Jackie would love this card. It's a Jean-Luc Foudy rookie auto.
Oh,
Yeah. So
yes and no.
Okay, here, I'm going to do this just for everyone.
yeah, and then check this bad
Because
boy out.
that's
So
what Foodie does to me anytime he sees me.
here's a Cale Makar auto synergy we got the other day. Now that's what I'm talking about. And then the last one I'll show you guys. I'm saving one of these for the topic we were just talking about, but here's a Mr. Pavel Francouz auto. So
Miss you,
those are the
buddy.
what's that?
Said miss you, buddy, to Pavel.
I know, right? So those are the cool cards
I think
Ado's
everyone
opened
does.
lately. If you like hockey cards and you collect them, hit me up. We'll talk about it because that's one of my favorite things to do. But let's get into this week's bold predictions and let's hash out last week's, hand out our buzzers, and actually they're all buzzers this week. We went over. Ezra had Nathan McKinnon scoring twice as many points as Mikko Rantanen in the Dallas versus Colorado showdown, but unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately, because the Avs won, but they had the same amount, which was 1 point. So that is going to be a wrong for Mr. Ezra. Jackie, you had Mikko Rantanen and Matt Duchene. Oh, we're looping that. That's all right. That's your buzzer, Jackie. You had Mikko Rantanen and Matt Duchene combining for more points than McKinnon and Makar. Mack and Makar had 4 thanks to Makar's 3, and Duchene had 2. So, I mean, you weren't too far off.
It was tied until overtime, so overtime settled it.
Yeah,
It was
well,
tied up
and
until then.
it almost wasn't. Drew Rantanen had a pretty good look that, thank goodness, Scott Wedgwood made a double save on. That would have hurt quite substantially. So I'm happy that didn't happen. I had a Val Nichushkin hat trick. No, but we got the goal, baby, and so that's a nice feeling. And Evan, you had former stars Kivi Ranta and Val Nichushkin combining, each having 2 points. You got half of that right. Nichushkin had 2 points. Kivi Ranta did not. And Brandon, last but not least, you had Brock Nelson getting his first goal and 2 goals this week. Or no, that's Ezra's from this week that I just wrote down. Or no, was that yours last week? That was yours last week. Am I lying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
See, yeah, it was mine last week.
Getting
his first goal into.
You just don't want your buzzer. That's what it was. Ezra's this week was that the Avs would win every game and that Nelson would have a point and a goal in all 3. Not a goal in all 3, but a goal in 1. And a point in all 3. Okay. So now we have Ezra's. Let's run the track, and I will get you all's bold prediction for this week.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talks.
Well, let's start with our comment section with Mr. Peterman, who's got a ding already, our first ever listener ding for bold prediction. He's got a Brock Nelson hat trick, so there you go. That has it. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Very bold.
Yeah, Jackie, let's start with you. Ladies first.
Okay, I'm going to say that. So I guess our week, I guess I'm just thinking this road trip is what, 3 games?
Yeah, we might get the Detroit game too before our next show. But
and that one's at home. So I think I would just want to keep it to the road trip.
Okay.
That Wedgwood will be their only winning goalie.
Ooh.
So I don't know if because we know Blackwood has been ill. So that's not even saying he could even start the Toronto game. We don't know.
Right.
And he probably will start at least one because of the back-to-back. But I will say that he's the one that will get the wins. If they win all of them, that's okay. But he will be the only winning goalie this week.
Well, it's funny that you say that because when we were watching the game against Dallas and Scott Wedgwood was doing his thing, my dad looked over at me and he said, I said that I wondered if Wedgwood was the better of the 2 goalies that they got. I don't know if I feel that way yet, but it's possible because he does look very good. So,
or they could be riding the hot hand. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
However we get there, Wedgwood will have their only goal or their only wins this week.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I like it. Evan, what do you got for me this week?
Well, it'll be kind of similar to, I guess, Ezra and Jackie's last week, where you're doing player point combinations. Since Mikko Rantanen is no longer on the Avs, and we like to compare him with Mitch Marner, I'll do it with Natchez instead. I will say Natchez outscores Mitch Marner in the game tomorrow against the Leafs.
I like it. Like I said last week, Toronto doesn't deserve Mitch Marner. And Marty didn't, and you know what? Carolina didn't deserve Marty either. How about that?
How that Marner thing will play out will be interesting.
Right.
Very interesting.
Very interesting in the offseason for sure. Brandon, what you got?
Wedgwood is going to get the start tomorrow and will win.
Wedgie with the start and the dub. I like that. So we got 2 goalie predictions. We got 2 Brock Nelson predictions, and we got a Marty and a Mitch Marner prediction. I'm going to go back to the well here. And this doesn't feel bold, but it's bold right now because it's been a while. But Nathan McKinnon is going to have himself a 5-point night this week.
Ooh, wow.
You think maybe the Ottawa game? Or
I do. I think we might get ourselves a hat trick and a couple apples, but that's where I'm at here. It's been a while. He's been held off the score sheet too frequently as of late for me to have.
Yeah, he's got to get some breathing room over Draisaitl.
Yeah, I agree. So those are the bold predictions this week, folks. If you are tuned in right now and you want to drop your bold prediction in the comment, I will bring that up on the screen. Make sure we write it down, get you your ding or your buzzer next week. There are about 700 of you watching us live right now, so thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoy this programming, please head over to our website, milehighhockey.com, and give us a follow on your preferred socials at @MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey. Before we head on out, I do want to give the floor to my esteemed colleague, Jackie, who has been announced as the new managing editor over at our site, milehighhockey.com. So yes, round of applause for our fearless leader, Jackie. Jackie, is there anything you'd like to say to our beloved following?
Oh boy, a lot of pressure. Well, I did write something on the site introducing or reintroducing myself, since I've been around a long time there, since started just as a poster in 2013. I started writing at the end of the 16-17 season. We all know what season that was. It's just the managing editor at the time was just like, I need somebody to write recaps for this. I can't do it anymore. So
I'm sick of these recaps.
So that's how I started. My first articles were recapping some of those games at the end of the season. And so I stayed on through a lot of turmoil, let's just say. But I'd never left, and so I'm glad to be at the helm now, I guess. So I invite anybody that it has been away or hasn't checked it out there to come and read our articles. I have one up today about the Hart and the Norris Trophy races. But I just hope that you stick with us and stick with me, and I'll try to do my best and just keep it rolling.
Heck yeah, we'll keep it rolling is right. And that's what I'm excited about the most over here, Jackie, with the Mile High Hockey stuff, is that we're still moving and grooving. And I look forward to the leadership that you are going to bring to the table. And Evan, I enjoyed the leadership that you brought to the table as well. This has been such a cool and graceful handover of the reins, and I commend you for that. Brennan, you just look good all the time, so there's your compliment. Even when you're sick, you look nice, Brennan.
If I may,
feel like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may, I wanted to say two things, because I someone said it in the announcement article that it just feels right, and I agree with that, because I kind of came in and kind of stirred it up, college, I think junior, when I took over, and I was just trying to find my way, and it worked out for me, at least I think.
I agree.
I kind of disrupted the seniority going on at MHH just by kind of coming
Which
in.
wasn't
Well,
but
nothing for
it
you.
worked out,
Nothing.
and Jackie's deserving of it. So
Yeah.
I look forward to
I don't
it.
want to cut you off if you had more, but I just want to say there's so much history with the site, and I don't think it was anything about what you did or how you managed or led. It's just, I think when people say that is because and a lot of history predates me too. Like, I wasn't there in 2009 and everything, and through the tank years.
Yeah.
There's just so much history behind it, and I hope to bring some of that back. And I think
Yeah.
that's why people say that, because I just kind of I know what happened before a lot of that turmoil. I knew what it was like back then, and so
Mhm.
if I can bridge the two, I don't want to make it what it used to be, but what my goal is, I kind of want to bridge the two eras, and
Yeah. I
maybe
love that.
sort of bring a little bit back of what just what has been missing just because of all the changes and everything. And so that's my goal. So like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think you should take it at all as like, you took it somewhere that people didn't want. It's just
No way.
sometimes when you know the history, you kind of know what's missing and what's needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
8-year-old me didn't know much about MHH
I'm
when he
gonna
first
say-
started in 09. So
Well, like I
just
said, I
about-
wasn't
it's
there
not
in
your fault,
09
you're a
either.
baby.
I wasn't there in the tank years. I heard those were some good times. Those were some coping times, let's just
I'm
say.
sure. Can you imagine the articles I'd be writing in the tank window? Yikes. Oh, man. You don't even want that kind of content. So let's avoid those again.
The other thing I wanted to say, completely not Avs related, but since Brennan and I are both wearing some FOCO stuff.
Gross.
Go Rams. Because,
Yeah. Yes.
Hey,
Gross.
they're representing for the state, right? So
Yep.
it's all right.
They're going to lose the
Mountain
Memphis.
West champs,
Sorry,
baby.
guys. I got buddies from Memphis, so I got to root. I got to root for the Grizzlies over there, dog. And you know me, I don't. The only Rams I root for are not Rams at all. They're Thunderwolves. So I'm sorry.
Well, they're part of the system.
Well, I have to say I'm a Buff and not a Ram.
Yeah.
So
I'm a Thunderwolf. So all you guys can kick rocks. How about that? Well, that I think we'll end the show on me telling all of my cohorts to kick rocks, because that's just how things go. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back at it again next week with another weekly installment. And we will recap. Hopefully Ezra's right that they just win again.
On the back of Wedgwood.
Yeah, on the back
so
of
we're both
all
right.
Wedgwood. Yeah. Including the back-to-back. Wedgwood's just going to play. And that
Make
way we
us all
all
right.
get things. Exactly. So up until next week, folks, I hope that you all have a wonderful time. And when I see you then, I will wish you the same. In the meantime and in between time, thank you to my co-hosts, Jackie K, Brandon Vogt, Evan Liu, and of course, Ezra Parter, who started the program. My name is Adrian Hernandez. Go Avs.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.